This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Joey asks me about flat power distance.
Woo! And I feel like none of this is real. This is what a Joey sounds like who is not real. And this is what an executive producer and imaginary friend, Jess Vander, sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
Important side question. Did you see IT, the Ryan Reynolds children's movie?
No.
It's IT stands for something. No, If. It was called If. Sorry. Imaginary friend. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I cried. Like fighting back, like fighting back, like a racking cry in a movie theater, just like not expecting, but it definitely caught me in a moment where I was like, "You're right. Everybody deserves to be cared for." Like it was. I was like,
so beautiful.
Yeah, my example of this is 40. The Judd Apatow movie of like the revelations of just being 40 is sometimes you get punched in the gut by children's movies now. Like that's what my life is like. Wow. I'm not 40 yet. We're in weeks, not months away. She's coming for me. Jessica.
Wait. One more thing before our house is cleaned. On the subject of refrigerators, did you see that photographer Mark Amenivar, sorry if I'm saying this wrong, created a collection of photographs examining the interiors of refrigerators in homes across the United States, and each photo is just sort of the base, like the core inside of the fridge, and then the profession of whoever the anonymous individual is and where they live, city and state. And it is just so incredible, and it reminded me, it sort of felt like this anti-fridgescaping masterpiece, and I just felt like it really makes you think, and also ask yourself if you would be willing to just take a picture of your fridge and then trade that with your friends, and if not, what does that say? Is that like a degree too intimate? I don't know, but anyway, just take a look. It's really delightful. Something is up with this bot nest is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, this. I mean, the street advertiser as well. A jar of mayonnaise and a black plastic bag is all you have in your refrigerator.
And just crumbs on the bottom. There's nothing else in there.
It is like, one, it makes us feel good about ourselves, but is also like, what an interesting like example of maybe not even a personality test, but like what assumptions can you make about a person based on seeing like, if I give you one thing about a person that you have to deduce the most you can possibly deduce about them, what would it be? And be like, maybe refrigerator is like, right.
It's like maybe refrigerator, actually. Exactly. Yeah. Like the short order cook with both 4 stacks of tortillas and a snake in their freezer. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Or like, why does that clerk have 4 gallons of milk? Like,
maybe you're going to need that.
Anyway. We've landed on it. The Inside Your Refrigerator personality test has just dropped.
Exactly.
Babe, wake up. New personality test just dropped. Okay. Jess.
Joey.
I have something that I'm bringing to you, not based on reading something or seeing something. Well, I guess technically maybe that's not true. It's based on reading something, but
actually, I was reading this article and book and note and email and newsletter.
Yeah, it was not via a content platform, a content creator, whatever. It was not on the socials. I witnessed something this week, and it's sort of, I guess as all of these revelations do, there's a couple things that come together and make you all of a sudden be like, wait, how's that going? Um, uh, two of the young women on our team did an well, like
almost 40, but young women. Okay.
what I'm like, what?
Two people on our team.
Two humans. I interacted with two humans. Asked me to do this interview thing about flatness, which is like a idea that is like really important to us in our organization, sort of an organizational belief, like low power distance, like everyone's experience and thoughts and orientation on things should be able to be presented in any context. It's a thing we like believe deeply, like in my gut. It was weird talking about it because I feel it in I was saying I feel it in my stomach, not in my brain. And I don't, so being asked like direct questions about it, I was like, good question. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Flatness, like right now.
Yeah. But they asked me some questions about it last Friday. And then this week I was, we were working with a client, and the senior client who was not in these exchanges, I would say I'm actually friends with. I've known him for a long time. We've worked together in many different contexts. We will go get a meal or a drink, independent of whether we're working together. Like, we are sort of people that like similar things, and so we get along. But I'm witnessing two people that are maybe in an organizational hierarchy, like 2 tiers below him. He's like their grandfather boss or whatever. And in an email exchange, they're saying like, "Oh, we need to regroup about how we're gonna bring this thing to him." And I'm like, "Wait, I know him, and I know you don't like." He would just like love it if you just like showed up and told him and did not make this like a big elaborate thing. And my reaction to it was like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we create these like big power distance structures? These are like highly competent people like having this conversation who know what they're doing and are spending like time and energy and effort around how to present a thing to someone that is supposed to be like working with them on it. And it is literally creating like this delta, like this distance from a decision that they should also be able to be weighing in on, but they're sort of putting the decision outside of themselves. And so my question to you is, what do we do about power distance?
I remember when I first came to Sylvain and I had heard murmurations, maybe even from you, about, being a flat organization. And I had a mentor recommend to me. She was like, "Oh, flat organizations, so amazing, so different. You need to read up on that because it's a very, very different mentality." And I
That's
think
a good mentor.
Oh God, she's amazing. Yeah, she was amazing. But I think the thing about it was that I couldn't fully appreciate how different of a taste it would be until I really showed up. And as you witnessed firsthand, it took me a long time to understand it, despite intellectually understanding what you mean by, we're all out here, we're all collaborating together. If you are used to an environment where hierarchy and power distance is sort of the way the world works, you have this thought in your head that you would never want to be disrespectful. You want to, you want to be um uh especially if you are not in the seat of power, like you want to make sure that you are acquiescing to the needs and demands of the hierarchy of the structure of the powers that be. And so getting that, like eventually acquiring that taste and being like, oh, this is a totally different, it's a totally different method. um it's yeah, I'm really excited to get into this because it is so hard to explain. It's really hard to teach, and it also sort of is sticky. You might be able to break down power distance in one environment, but it isn't necessarily transferable to another,
Mhm.
unless you also learn that that environment is maybe okay, or even that individual interaction or relationship is okay to sort of break down some of those walls. Oh, it's yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah, I think when we had started the company, it was again, right? It was like a feeling in your gut, not a thing that you could fully intellectualize. And it was a lot of it was based on experiencing higher power distance or very hierarchical organizations where someone made the entire decision based on how they felt, even if like everyone knew that they were less informed because they were further from the work being done prior. And we're like, oh, that feels bad. That feels like not right for any number of reasons, right? It is sort of a consolidation of power, which doesn't feel right. It is like a lack of deference to expertise or passion or any number of things. But it was like, again, it was like in your belly or like in your heart, not in your head. Um, and like since then, as with many things, like you get an intuition, and then over time you like get these like little seeds dropped over the years, like the Hofstede stuff about where they like analyze, like it. You realize it is like a very cultural concept, like nationally, organizationally, like where sort of boundaries of cultures exist.
Yep.
There are transitions where this like can be higher or lower, right? And the U.S. is um, in like the Hofstede example, I think we're at like a 40 or something like that. We're like
This is
Germany.
Geert Hofstede's cultural dimensions model.
Yes.
Six
Uh,
dimensions. I'm just learning
yeah.
this right now. Power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, long term versus short term, and indulgence versus restraint.
Yeah. I
Cool.
mean, I have not thought about that idea. Like the times that I've gone to look at the Hofstede model is like I'm working internationally with a culture that I have little experience with, and I want to understand just sort of like very diffusely, like maybe where a baseline exists so I can interact effectively. But I'm realizing, like, oh, all of those things are probably relevant to our organization. I'm like, we actively try for low power distance. We are definitely like more oriented towards collectivist than individualist. Like, I don't think we're very indulgent, if I'm being honest, which is also probably a product of like my like non-indulgent upbringing and like being like worried when you're starting the company that you're like everything's gonna fall in. Just like be conservative, be thoughtful, and like Al's like immigrant mentality as like the CFO when we started also being embedded in it. And like yeah, I could probably tick down all of those things and be like, oh, we sit here. But like the power distance one and flatness is um like is there a right answer on some of these? Like some of these feel like there's not like a right or wrong thing, but I kind of feel like with power distance, like there may be like maybe not like zero power distance or something, but like there it feels like there's like a moral spot in the tracker that has like, with like plus or minus like some margin of error. But like, am I wrong on that? I don't know.
I guess right or wrong in what set, like to what end or in what sense, I feel like at least in the professional sphere, at least in our sphere as a service industry, it's more a matter of respecting the culture that you're interacting with. And if there is an individual, uh, acknowledging and respecting the values of that individual, because these could easily be interpreted as individual as much as sort of the group. Um, and and making fewer assumptions as that changes and shifts, right? Like back to that idea of how it doesn't transfer in other contexts. Like if you work in a highly hierarchical organization, but you know that this one individual or your boss doesn't work like that, permit yourself to work best, or however that will enable work with that sort of subgrouping, right? Subcultures.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just like, if I'm asked based on my gut and my experience, like where some ideal state on some of those spectra exist, right? Like my gut says like being balanced between masculinity and femininity and aiming somewhere at the center is probably like right as an
Optimal somehow.
organization to be able to be inclusive and allow people to flourish within an organization. And the fact of the matter is like half of the world is on one side of that spectrum and half is on the other, and there's a gradient therein, but like that normal spectrum exists there. At the same time, when we're talking about the flatness spectrum, like a lot of data and people who study how organizations work, or if you go on the other side, if you go to like religious texts even, right, it is like there are teachings saying like don't assert your power unduly over other people, all people are created equal, like all of those things. And then the data on like people who study like management or like organizational behavior, they will tell you like coercive leadership is bad. If someone is like asserting leadership in a sort of dictatorial way, it is demotivating. Like
Right.
worse outcomes happen. There's an over reliance on an individual who is not including the expert. Like, so in my mind, there, like, it definitely like swings towards the more flatness side. How far and what is the right zone? But I don't
So
know.
curious that our organization
I don't know
aligns
that
with
we
your
we are in
personal
the
philosophy.
no, I don't know that we're in like the perfect zone. Like that actually is not, like, genuinely is not how I feel that we are perfect. We have sort of manifested a company that works for us, and like the people who come and thrive are the people who are aligned with that. But like in my mind, it is also like all these people study these companies, and the ones that work well are like
Right.
authoritative leadership and things like that, which is
Right.
like project towards some goal, but give people the flexibility and freedom to accomplish that through their own ends. And you're like, time and time again, the data comes back in that direction. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. When you confront the other part is like when you confront a situation that has like really high power distance, and you are coming from a place that you're actively trying to reduce power distance, it can be really jarring. Like I can sometimes have like this like allergic reaction. I'm like, oh, I do not like that.
No,
This feels
like this.
yuck. Like.
Yeah, I I I don't know why this reminded me of this one very special occasion meal that I had, where it was one of those uh sushi meal experiences where omakase, where the chef like makes each individual bite and presents it on a plate, and then you're supposed to eat it. And I was like, I fully recognize that I don't know how to respect this properly. Like if I savor it, like if I'm savoring, do I eat just like half of it? But I think you're supposed to eat the whole thing. I don't really know. And then the chef watching me struggling was like, it tastes best if you eat it all in one bite. And I was like, yes, sir. Like, yep, you are in charge, and thank you for being so tactful. But I am so sorry, I didn't know how to do this right. But this idea that we're all out here just like trying to figure out what is the right balance of authority in the smaller relationships. I don't know, but I totally agree with you. I think there are some, despite those sort of time specific use cases of more extreme poles of some of these dimensions, I do imagine that there are some more evergreen and enduring traits that make a culture last, if that is sort of the metric of success.
Yeah. I mean, there's trade-off. Like when we like hire people, or if I have to talk to someone outside of our organization about how it functions, like a potential partner or freelancer or whatever, like the thing I'll say is like there's a trade-off, right? Like low power distance cultures, like everyone in theory, or like as many people as you can are meant to feel the agency of being able to participate. And also, if everyone can participate, like decision making sometimes can be slower, right? Like the trade-off the trade-off you're making in theory is that like the decision is better by including everyone, but maybe it takes a little bit longer, and everyone, I wouldn't go as far as to say our organization is consensus oriented, but it is like bring in maybe we are, yeah.
And
maybe we
and
are.
Again,
your face says.
I was like, oh, are you sure?
Actually,
but you're right, and I think that maybe I don't know if this dimension makes it onto here because it has nothing to do with the original model, but that idea of an awareness of whatever trade-offs you are accepting, and any time where that needs to be overridden or adjusted. Again, that's where sort of the time-specific modes become an asset. So you can appreciate that generally these are our values, these are the models that make the most sense, and is this an exception? And can we be aware enough to recognize when it is?
Yeah. All right, Jessica, can you bring us to the flattest corner where things are wrapped?
Whoa. Imagine a flat corner. It's just rounded.
It's just an angle.
I guess. Is an angle any less flat? What do I have to say about flatness? Someone else probably has a better idea.
That's it?
That's it.
What do I have to say about flatness? I don't know. What do you have to say
What
about
do you think? What do you think about that?
Can we come to a consensus on this?
Let us talk about this for another hour.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by Flatirons.
As always, we'd like to thank executive producer and right angle, Jess Vander.
You're welcome. We'd like to also thank sound engineer and drummer extraordinaire, Alex Contel. The world knows.
We'd like to thank our programming coordinator and Flat Eric, if you know, you know, Les Jacobs.
And the full stomachs and production crew, Sarah Gilbert, Norm Mustridge, Christy Jensen, and Amy Waters.
And as always, thanks, Len.
Thanks.
Special thanks to Flat Eric. Go watch that music video.
Eric.
Just look up that music video. Alex might know Flat Eric better from being in Europe in the era of Flat Eric, but there's like a techno.
Wow.
There's like a puppet guy in like a techno video. Who is the artist? I can't even remember. Or is Flat Eric?
Quentin Dupieux, designed by Janet Netchell.
The song is called Mr. Oizo, Oizo. It's called Flat Beat.
Oh.
Or yeah, I'm not sure. Is Mr. Oizo the artist and Flat Beat is the song? Who knows? But Flat Eric is the puppet. So
flatness is puppets.
Flatness is puppets.
Just think,
Simple
is
as
it
that.
puppets?
Simple as that. Well, we did it.
Okay, bye.
All right, love you, mean it. Bye.